For the majority of the trials that we cover here on Law and Crime and Sidebar, usually everything remains relatively calm, but there are moments when that just doesn't happen. So we want to revisit some of these intense courtroom outbursts, and we're going to start with the trial of Scott Nelson. Scott Nelson was convicted of the murder of nanny Jennifer Fulford after he robbed a home out in Florida and then kidnapped her, and he admitted on the stand that he killed her so there wouldn't be a witness. Just such an evil, evil crime. But then it became a matter of what should be his punishment, life in prison or the death penalty. And during the penalty phase of the trial, Roy Gravett, a federal prison expert, came on the stand, and he testified that Nelson had problems with Muslim inmates while behind bars. Well, Mr. Nelson didn't quite like the way that he was being portrayed, and he let everyone know about it.
Outside the scope of this witness's expertise.
Jesus Christ. Madam Court Reporter, can you read back the question?
Mr. Nelson has shown no adverse effects for the special housing act.
You can't call me. I'm sorry. Mr. Nelson, you need to take a moment. Mr. Nelson, you need to take a moment with your attorneys.
He's out of control.
Hold on, sir. Sir. Members of the jury. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson. Are we clear that you're going to stop talking? I need a verbal affirmative.
Yes. Your Honor, I'd like to ask the word.
Mr. Nelson, talk with your attorneys, and then your attorneys. I'm going to, Mr. Nelson.
Cackling like an idiot.
Mr. Nelson, Ms. Simmons has asked for a moment to talk with you privately. I'm going to grant her request, and you're going to have that opportunity. You need to follow the deputy's instructions so they can facilitate this. Okay, go ahead.
What makes a person a murderer? Are they born to kill or are they made to kill? Well, Killer Psyche Daily is a new podcast that gives you a quick 10-minute rundown every weekday on the motivations and behaviors of the criminal masterminds, psychopaths, and cold-blooded killers that you read about every day in the news. Host Candace DeLong draws on her years as an FBI agent and criminal profiler to break down these cases for you. On Killer Psyche Daily, Candace will give you insight into cases like Ryan Grantham, the actor who killed his mom, and of course, the Stockton serial killer. She's also going to invite expert guests to dive deeper into the details and share what it was like to work at Quantico. She's also going to answer some killer trivia and even host a virtual Q&A that allows you to ask her questions. It is a unique show with unique insights for all true crime followers out there. So Amazon Prime members, listen to the Amazon Music exclusive podcast Killer Psyche Daily in the Amazon Music app, and you can download the app today. He interrupts the testimony in his seat. That is so not allowed. The attorneys can make objections. He can't say anything. And isn't it just so wild that he wants to proclaim he's not a racist? He had no problem saying he's a killer, but as long as everyone knows he's not a racist. Oh, okay. Interestingly, I should tell you that Nelson asked the jurors to give him the death penalty, and they actually sentenced him to life in prison. By the way, it's very common for defendants to not be happy with what's being said in court, either to them or about them. But that does lead me to one other outburst that almost evolved into something much worse. It is the Florida penalty trial of Besman Okafor, the man convicted of murdering 19-year-old Alex Zaldivar, with prosecutors saying he executed the teen to prevent him from testifying. And at a Spencer hearing, which under Florida law allows defendants to present additional evidence when determining a sentence, Zaldivar's father took the stand. And as you'll see, he makes comments directly to Okafor that the murderer didn't like.
I run out of adjectives. I don't know what to say to this man anymore. But today will be the last time that I will get to see him. But I will see you in 10 years.
Objection, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Zaldivar. Now, please. Please, sit down.
Pass me.
Let's take him outside for just a moment. Mr. Ashton, can you take that photograph?
So you have Mr. Zaldivar saying directly to the defendant, "You're dead." And then Bessman cursing and saying, "I'll show you how gangster I am." He was removed from the courtroom. And I'll tell you, if it wasn't for the special response team of Orange County Sheriff's deputies, who knows what could have happened in that courtroom. Little side note here, Okafor was sentenced to death, but that's kind of up in the air given how Florida changed their laws, which now requires a unanimous jury vote for the death penalty. But either way, what a moment. Now, sticking with the theme of angry defendants for a second, let's go to Darrell Brooks. Again, we talked about him extensively here on the program. The guy convicted of killing 6 people, injuring dozens of others after driving his car into a holiday parade out of Waukesha, Wisconsin. And as I've mentioned on the show before, Brooks, who decided to represent himself, got into major fights with Judge Jennifer Darrow, particularly since he would bring up irrelevant legal theories and would constantly complain that his rights were violated, and he just was overly disruptive of the proceedings. And yes, the arguments got intense at times, but no point was as bad as this. I'm going to give you a little bit of a setup here. What you're about to hear and see comes off of Brooks saying that the prosecution wasn't playing fair. He made a baseless accusation that the state was coaching witnesses, and he was getting more and more angry. And then this happened.
So as long as the jury's out, we should probably discuss that. I would like to provide the defendant and the court with a copy.
So that had to be said. So it's the defendant.
That's not how it was said.
That was how I said. You want to run the record back?
Mr. Brooks.
So I'm the only one. I got one.
Mr.
I got
Brooks.
one ear that work, and I heard that.
This is to benefit you, so
No,
that
it's
you
not.
understand
Ain't none of
your
this to benefit
witness
me, so let's
has
be
a
clear about
prior
that.
record.
Your Honor, when I leave the table, I'm away from the courtroom, and I have to elevate my voice. This is the alleged record of ableist.
Stop talking.
Come on, man. Like, I don't know who y'all be thinking y'all fooling. I accept the value in return for value. This document.
One more interruption and you're going to be removed to the next courtroom.
That's what you want to do anyway.
It's not what I want to do. Do not interrupt Attorney Opper.
So can
Your
you
Honor,
tell,
I
can
believe
you
he has 7 prior criminal convictions via OWI 2nd from 1997, and OWI 3rd from 1997, and OWI 4th from 2003, criminal trespass to dwelling from 2006.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared.
Wow. I mean, when have you heard a judge stop in court because of that? He slams his fist. He just stares her down. The level of patience that Judge Darrow had during the course of these proceedings is pretty remarkable. And I said it before, I'll say it again. When people say, how come she didn't kick him out of the courtroom more? Why did she give him so much leeway? I was of the opinion that I think she wanted to ensure that she gave him every opportunity and every chance so that when he was convicted, which he was, he couldn't muster any kind of argument like the court was unfair to him. Just unbelievable. By the way, one more angry defendant that we have to address, Alex Jones. Now, again, another case we've talked a lot about here on Sidebar. Well, Alex Jones had 2 trials that we covered, one in Texas and one in Connecticut. The InfoWars host was sued over comments that he made that the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting was fake and that it was staged. And when he testified in his first trial in Texas, he took the stand and said that he didn't intend to harm anyone. He seemed almost apologetic, says that the shooting was 100% real. But then after being hit with an almost $50 million judgment, you have to wonder if something changed, because when his Connecticut trial happened later, some would say perhaps the real Alex Jones came out, or at the very least, a different side of Alex Jones.
That's Robbie Parker, isn't it, Mr. Jones?
It is.
That's the real Robbie Parker, isn't it?
I mean, I said years ago I thought Sandy Hook had him.
Robbie Parker's sitting right here. He's real, isn't he?
He is.
And for years, you put a target on his back, didn't you?
Objection to the form of that, Judge.
Well, I mean, I
Didn't you?
I've admitted I've said his name. It's true. I haven't said other people's names, but who they are.
You put a target on his back just like you did every single parent and loved one sitting here, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
That's argumentative. There is speculative. There is no foundation for it, and it's inappropriate.
Let's move on.
These are real people. You know that, Mr. Jones?
I think you just told them to move on.
Just like all the Iraqis, but you liberals kill and love. It's just, you're unbelievable. You switch on emotions on and off when you want. It's just ambulance chasing.
Why don't you show a little respect?
Objection, Judge. I think that you get what you give in this court. Objection.
You have families in this courtroom here that lost children, sisters, wives, moms.
Is this a struggle session? Are we in China? I've already said I'm sorry hundreds of times, and I'm done saying I'm sorry. I didn't generate this. I wasn't the first person to say it. American gun owners didn't like being blamed for this, as the left did, so we rejected it mentally and said it must not be true. But I legitimately thought it might have been staged, and I stand by that, and I don't apologize for it.
And don't apologize, Mr. Jones. Please don't apologize.
No, I've already apologized to the parents over and over again.
We know
I don't apologize to you.
Objection.
Don't apologize to you.
You're going to do it again.
Objection, Judge.
Aren't you?
Objection.
No, I'm not.
Objection. Argumentative.
Don't apologize to you.
Well, it's hard for me to get a word in edgewise.
It is, but I
Because
think
your
there's
client
one officer of the court and one witness, and an officer of the court heard the objection.
And I can't rule on your attorney's. Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Now, I will tell you, I'm not sure him acting any different would have changed the outcome of this case. In this case, he was hit with an almost $1 billion damages judgment. But what this part does is it really highlights some of the things that Jones was saying on his program. And some believe that this was all an act, that he was really pacifying his audience of followers, that this was all a show trial for him, and he was just trying to stand up to his enemies. All right, I couldn't talk about the most memorable courtroom outbursts without talking about one that is unlike anything else. This was during the sentencing hearing for Larry Nassar, the former physician for the USA Gymnastics and Michigan State University who sexually abused hundreds of girls. Well, during a sentencing hearing out in Michigan, Randall Margraves, the father of 3 girls who were abused by Larry Nassar, asked the judge for a favor. And as you'll see, things erupt into chaos.
Judge, would a distraught father have a chance to say something? You son of a...
We don't want to swear. We don't want to have profanity. I can't imagine the anger and the anxiety and the feeling of wanting retribution. And if you need to say something to help you, I'm more than willing to let you say something. But in a courtroom, we don't use profanity. But if you have some words that you would like to say, I would like to give you the opportunity to say.
I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon. Would you do that?
That is not.
Yes or no?
No, sir.
Would you give me 1 minute?
You know that I can't do that. That's not how it is.
Well, I'm going to have to get it.
What's happened to you guys?
Not behave like that. No one can behave like this. I want to make sure it's crystal clear. I'm sure Judge Price.
You haven't lived through it, lady.
You cannot behave like this. This is letting him have this.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. That's why courtroom deputies are so important. In fact, the judge had to weigh whether imposing a contempt of court charge on him, and she ultimately denied doing so given the circumstances of the case. Margraves did apologize to the court. He said, I lost control. I apologized 100 times. I'm definitely calmed down. I'm embarrassed. I'm not here to upstage my daughters. I'm here to help them heal. So yes, completely wrong for him to do, but also completely understandable why he chose to do that. All right, everybody, that's all we have for you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sidebar. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.